All right, at this time, we'll call to order the City of Kenai Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for December 14th, 2022. Will you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item A2, roll call, please.
Chair Twait,
Here.
Commissioner Halstead,
Here.
Commissioner Fikes is absent, Commissioner Woodard,
Here.
Commissioner Greenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Costin. Here. Commissioner Glendenning.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Before we get a motion for the agenda, we'll make note of the items in the laydown. We have 3 items that are regarding F1, the resolution PZ 2022-26. It's an amendment memo from the planning director, a revised resolution from the planning director, and public comment from the planning director. And also for items J3, city administration report, updated code enforcement report for November. So with that, is someone willing to make a motion with the included laydowns? Commissioner Halstead.
I move we approve the agenda with the additional laydown items.
All right, do we have a second?
A second.
Second, any objections? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. Item A3, what do we got here? Hang on here. I guess A4, we want to do election of chair and vice chair. So at this time, we will open it up for anyone to nominate anyone for chair. Commissioner Greenberg.
I will nominate Commissioner Twait.
I'd second that.
So I guess we can second that. Any other nominations? Seeing none, do we need to vote on that then? No? Okay. Ask for unanimous consent then?
I'd ask for unanimous consent on.
Okay. All
A
right.
second.
Seeing none, we will then move on to vice chair. Nominations for vice chair. I can? Can I nominate somebody too? Is that, or, no, all right.
I wouldn't mind throwing my hand in the ring if someone, I
there
don't
we
know, I nominate myself or not. Cool.
Okay, we got a,
If we could, would you like to make the motion to nominate?
I think Gwen did,
Oh, you did.
kind of, yeah? Did you?
I nominate Commissioner Halstead as vice chair.
And we got a second from Commissioner Glendenning, and ask for unanimous consent. Someone?
Unanimous consent.
Okay. And any objections to unanimous consent? Seeing none, Commissioner Halstead will be vice chair. All right, now we'll move on to item A5, consent agenda, wishes of the commission. Vice Chair Halstead.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right, second.
I'll
Second.
second.
Any objections? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. Item C, scheduled public comment, we have none. Item D, unscheduled public comment. Anyone wishing to speak to an item not on tonight's agenda? Not seeing anyone. We'll move on. Item E, consideration of plats. We have none tonight. Takes us to item F, public hearings. We have one. F1, Resolution PZ 2022-26. A request by Jeff Bettis for a conditional use permit for a towing storage yard on the property described as Lot 4, Block 5, Cook Inlet Industrial Air Park located at 310 Airport Way in the Central Mixed Use Zone. Can I get a motion, please? Vice Chair Halstead.
I move we approve resolution PZ 2022-26, request for conditional use permit.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Glendenning seconds. Staff report first. All right. I shouldn't read this. Okay. We'll go for a staff report, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Twait. Sorry about that. Let me restart. Thank you, Chair Twait. Good evening, Commissioners and members of the public. The application before you is a conditional use permit for a tow yard at 310 Airport Way. No improvements are proposed at this time. The subject property is currently vacant and is previously used as a tow yard back in 2007 to 2018. Since then, it's been vacant. Surrounding uses are city-owned buildings to the north, which are for storage, and to the south and to the west, both are currently vacant properties, but both are owned by the city. And to the east, you have a commercial use. Subject property has an existing 6-foot-tall chain-link fence that is screened with slats or a mesh along the perimeter, with segments of the fence having a 2-foot-tall barbed or razor wire. The only access to the property is off of Airport Way. Applicant stated that the proposed conditional use permit would allow a tow yard at a suitable location for towing service requests by the Kenai Police Department and Alaska State Troopers. For customer pickups, the applicant plans to operate in advance to ensure a quick transaction or provide off-site pickups. In order to operate the business on a city-owned property, the applicant must obtain a special use permit or lease the property from the city. At this time, the applicant is pursuing a special use permit contingent on the approval of this conditional use permit. For a conditional use permit, there are 6 criteria that must be met in order to be approved. The first criteria, staff finds that the proposed use is consistent with the purpose of the Kenai zoning code and the land use table. The proposed use is permitted, subject to a conditional use approval, and staff does not anticipate that the proposed use would generate more vehicular traffic than any by right permitted use in the central mixed use zone. The proposed use provides a centralized location for towing services with anticipated coordination with Kenai Police Department and Alaska State Troopers. And staff is recommending condition 3, which requires that the proposed use to comply with the setbacks and screening for open storage along the collector street. For criteria 2, staff finds that the economic and non-economic value of the adjoining property will not be significantly impaired. Most of the surrounding properties are vacant and city-owned. Operation of a tow yard would not significantly impair because the previous use was a towing yard, and staff did conduct research on the code enforcement, and there weren't any history of violations in the past for the past use. So staff is recommending conditions 4, 5, and 6 to mitigate the potential adverse impacts to the adjoining neighbors and properties. So for criteria 3, in regards to the Imagine Kenai 2030 Comprehensive Plan, staff finds that it is in harmony since it is on the edge of the central commercial land use designation, which also happens to be next to the industrial zone. This use is not necessarily inconsistent, but rather consistent with the surrounding uses. The property itself is only half an acre in size, so in essence, it's a very dense use of the property. It's not a large property where this use could expand to make it inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. And furthermore, the identified goals and objectives identified in the staff report, staff finds that it meets those identified goals of the comprehensive plan, and therefore staff is stating that it's in harmony with the comprehensive plan. So for criteria 4, when it comes to public service and facilities, those facilities do exist, but none of those are required for the proposed use. And access to and from the property is off of Airport Way, which is a city-maintained road. And criteria 5, the proposed use will not be harmful to the public safety and health and welfare. For the sake that, I have reached out to the building official and received no objections or concerns, and the towed vehicle will be stored behind a screen fence, which would also minimize the visual impact in addition to deterring trespassers. And there are no additional activities for this conditional use besides storing of towed vehicles. So therefore, staff believes that public safety, health, and welfare can be maintained by the approval of this request, subject to the conditions set forth in the staff's recommendation. And lastly, criteria 6, all the specific conditions I've already mentioned, but staff is recommending condition number 7 regarding signage for business identification and contact information for the customers. The sign would provide means for business location and provide a contact should there be anyone entering the premise. And lastly, as provided in your laydown, the fire department has recommended a condition to be added in regards to the electrical vehicle to be located at a certain distance to meet the Fire Protection Association standards and codes. And in regards to public notices, everything was complied with, but we did receive one public comment as found in your laydown. Staff reviewed those comments and do not necessarily find that it's appropriate to review during the conditional use permit. Those are better addressed when city reviews the special use permit. And lastly, staff recommends that the commission adopt the amended resolution approving the conditional use for the operation of Stowe Yard with the listed conditions. And that concludes staff's presentation.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll give the applicant an opportunity to come forward and give us any additional information you might want to. So you can either stand or sit there. And if you don't have anything to add, we might be able to go ahead and get a few questions for you. But if you can, just start off. There's a microphone right there that'll catch your voice. If you can get your name and address for the record, please.
All right. Jeff Bettis, 53335 Lee Ave, Kenai, Alaska. City of Kenai has been bugging me to get an impound yard. Same with troopers. They say nobody will tow for them. Today at 4 o'clock, I had a 2-car accident in front of the bank. I got home, headed to this meeting at 6:30. I got a call for another 2-car accident in front of the school. One of them's on the truck, and the other one's out of the way on the snowbank. I said I'll be back in a little bit. Officer Woody, the K-9 trooper, says that they're leaving felony DWIs by the road because nobody will tow them away. And actually, my daughter's aunt works dispatch at Kenai, Jennifer Savely, and they've been they said I'm the only guy that answers. So I don't know that I really need more business, but there's a need for it. And I used to have my issues with authority, and now that I'm older, I understand they have a job, and they don't need to be standing out by the road at whenever, 2 or 3 in the morning, and nobody will answer. And so I always try to answer if it says KPD or troopers. And I used to laugh. I'd go to bed at Friday night, Saturday night. I'm like, who's going to call first? And but there's a need for it. And Ready Towing had that yard for years. And I have 3 acres at my house, and I have 3 acres in Soldotna, but I really don't, a 15-year-old daughter, I really don't want to have a fenced-in yard at the house. And then right here, it's police drive by there all the time, and it's a nice fence, and it's a safe area. And I think it would work out well. So figured I'd try it. I tried it a couple years ago, and I had problems with insurance, and I'm still working on insurance. It seems like if I say storage yard, no problem. As soon as I say the word impound, you guys have all dealt with insurance companies. So that is still in the works, but plus I go from a DBA to an LLC, and then today they're like, so it's kind of a hassle, but there's a need for it, and eventually I think it'll make money if I get it going, and it goes the way it should. So I do not want to end up with a bunch of tweaker junkers, and I've told KPD that. The insurance wrecks are the good ones. You get them off the street, and the insurance pays in a week or so, and pay good storage, and you're not going to end up with some junk, but mostly it'll be just hopefully just like tonight. There was all newer cars in the road. The one new BMW and the Subaru over there, and then the one on my truck's a new, I don't even know what it is, box, Scion, something, and but it's insurance tow. So so I don't know. Any questions?
Yeah, we'll see. See if anyone has any questions. Commissioner Glendenning.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Twait. Yeah, just to pick up on what you said about the request from KPD and the troopers, that basically you're a evidence storage locker in many ways, right? If it's, if it's a, an accident or, a DWI or whatever, and we need in this town, in this area, I guess what I'm driving to is a safe, secure place
Right.
to place such items.
Right.
And it's a public service, and I commend you for doing this.
Are you familiar with that yard?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can't see through it. It's
Yeah, it has the woven,
Yeah,
yeah, no,
and it's something the police can patrol.
Sure.
Not out of their way, just.
it's
they
right,
drive
it's
by it,
right there, yeah. Yeah, and there's enough eyes on it that it should be secure,
And nobody be coming to my house in the middle of the night.
demanding their car
If I'm
back.
gone or
Yeah.
my daughter's there, right?
Yeah, no, it's a benefit to society, and thank
Right.
you.
A necessary evil.
Commissioner Greenberg.
Yeah, I think you answered what my question was going to be, but, she said some of the vehicles, some of the vehicles might be kind of a mess. They won't be visible from the road?
No, you can't see through the fence.
It won't be like a
if you
hazard or
go-
anything.
If you go to where the chain is, you might be able to kind of peek, but you don't see anything through the fence. So, yeah, if you drive by that little shortcut, where you go into the old city garage, it's the next one, and, yeah, you can't see through there. So,
Is there any potential hazards that you'd be checking for with some of these vehicles? Like if there's like a fuel leak or something, maybe they could start a fire? Is there stuff like that you check?
I've had one vehicle in all my years of towing that I was towing off bridge access and it started catching on fire and I got out and unhooked the battery, but, who knows down the road with electric cars, but so far, I think I've towed one Prius and no fully electric cars yet, so.
You don't see any potential hazards then?
No, if it was mangled, it'd probably be a good idea to hook the batteries, but, sometimes I leave them on my truck and put them inside at night, and I don't know, most stuff's pretty foolproof these days. I mean, car is just a computer, the newer ones.
How many cars do you expect to have in there, or you don't know?
I don't know, I mean, hopefully not many. I mean, I don't know, I mean, like I said, I had 4 calls since 4 o'clock, and one should have gone to an impound. I'm like, I don't have room in my house. It's sitting over at the Cars Mall. They said they're coming back with a tow dolly. And the other one went to the guy's house. And then this one on top would go there because it's going to be an insurance. And then the other one, the guy wanted to go to Keen Auto, and it's locked at night. So that would probably go in there overnight unless he said take it to Outlaw, That one's still up on the snowbank in front of the high school. So I'll wait and see if he calls. I would hope not more than 15 or 20 at, like after a few months. I mean, it's going to take a while to, most cars, like the last big snowstorm 3 weeks ago, just going out of town by the church, there was a head-on and the police called and both guys got extracted. And so I got the one out of the middle of the road, got it to the house, and went back and got the other one, and the first one sat there for 5 days. Insurance came and got it, and the other one sat there for a week and a half. And those are the tows I like because you can get, I don't want you to want to get in a towing, but it was a police officer call, blizzard, weekend, so the tow was $500 plus cleanup and then $100 a day storage. So the first car sat there for 5 days, and it was $1,000. And the second car sat there for, it was $2,200. And those are the tows. Those are the ones I like to get, where you could lock it up, get $100 a day storage, and somebody's coming to get it, and you don't need to mail out. You're going to get the ones where you mail the letter, you got to wait for a while. Not to complain about the state of Alaska, but now that they've gone to Z tags, and then people advertise, oh, you never got to do it again. Well, there's one in Home Depot parking lot right now. You call a lady, and they're like, oh, I sold that. I haven't had that for years. And legally, you can't just take it to the junkyard, I don't think. I've been trying to find out, that thing would probably sit for 30 days, and the letter would go to the registered owner, and then you can dispose of it, I do want to talk to somebody and find out, hey, what if the guy in 2 months that's, not that you guys care, but what if the guy in 2 months that has a title goes and put in his name and says, you know, I do want to, there's a couple little gray areas I need to get figured out. Because I do a lot of haul offs for churches and Safeway and Walmart, and usually the police give me a phone number, and either the owner or the last owner will come and get it, and if it has any value, you know. If it doesn't have any value, I try to. Sometimes I kind of shame people. I had, you know, there was one in O'Reilly's, and I'm like, hey, whoever has this, come and get it the next day or two before it gets hauled off, and it's one of the ones that transfer pending, and you can't get hold of the owner, and somebody will usually get hold of you or move it. You know, the last one at Safeway, the people, not that it went very far, they just pushed it over to Three Bears, and they're over there by motorhomes, but I don't know. I mean, I understand both sides, and you try to be nice, and on the other hand, it's like, dude, you got to do something with this junk that's in, you know, there was a guy called at Home Depot. The next day, he had it over at Safeway, and I called him. He's like, I moved it, and I'm like, it's the same property. Well, I'm going to take it over to AT&T. I'm like, no. And then him and his buddy wanted to call me up, and I'm like, I'm trying to be nice. I could have towed the car a week ago. I'm trying to be nice to help you get your, you know. So some people are happy and work with you, and other people kind of get an attitude. But you guys live here. You drive around here. I mean, there's cars at Home Depot. There's cars by old SBS. There's cars, and not that I want to clean them all up, but I mean, they do need to get cleaned up, and some of them would end up there for a while. But my target would be, you know, full coverage vehicles, the ones that pay good. I mean, you're always going to get some riffraff, but, you know, I have some at my house. I've towed off the beach. I've towed, you know, and eventually they'll go away, you know. Some people appreciate the chance and some don't, but, you know, I've been up here 24 years, and you know, you can't make everybody happy. I mean, I think I try. I mean, you know, I've dealt with Joe. He knows if I'm a liar, if I tell some, hey, you know, this, nothing's perfect. You know, I sell 100 used cars a year, and cars are mechanical, and they do break. But, you know, I try to be honest, and that's all you can do. So.
Thank you for your answers.
Kind of long.
It was a little bit. It was good information. It answered all my questions I had for you.
Well, you guys drive around here, so you see
Yeah.
you see the stuff that, you know.
Yeah.
Informative and enjoyable.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, and there's people that call me, can you impound this car? How long's it been there? Well, it's been in my driveway an hour. I'm like, you know, so.
Vice Chair Halstead.
Two questions. First one, if we do this amendment to this, the fire code where there's your EVs need to be stored at 50 feet from the property lines, in the future, is that going to be an issue if you had more than one? I mean, I don't know, how many do you think you could actually fit on that lot and still meet that criteria? Is that,
It used to be pretty full in there. There was a DeLorean in there for a long time. You know, it's only
or do you
half,
see that as an
it's
issue?
only half an acre. If you take 50 feet all the way around, I mean, it doesn't leave a whole lot of room. I would rather have it say 50 feet, it would have the batteries unhooked or out, or, I mean, that cuts, 50 feet around cuts into a lot of storage.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Does it leave you any room, or does
Can't
it?
stack 'em.
I would think that if we would put that type of restriction in that area, basically that's preventing you from potentially bringing other vehicles into that lot. And,
Yeah,
and again,
fine.
right now, I don't see it as an issue, but I would think that
Right.
in the future that could be a possible issue. Maybe that's more for a discussion item than a statement. But my other question, I don't know if that because you're bringing in potentially damaged vehicles or questionable vehicles, is there any kind of restrictions as far as soil contamination? And that being an old lot, was there any kind of checks that were done on that
I haven't been
prior
there for
to?
years. Yeah, I haven't been there for. Well, when was it last run? When did Charlie have it? It said 17 or.
I mean, I know, like, the old plants still have big issues with soil contamination, but I mean, that's a larger scale. I don't know
Well,
if
yeah,
that's
that-
any
that
kind
could
of,
be- That could be an issue if I move in January or February and you guys are like, because I don't know what the ground looks like right now.
yeah.
I have not been in there for 5 or 6 years probably.
But that's not any kind of requisite as far as you moving in or owning that lot, is that you need to make sure that you're not contaminating the soils?
Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff I tow is not, a lot of times washer fluid bottles are busted and every now and then some have radiators out of them, but it usually is in the street or, I don't,
Yeah.
usually they're done leaking by the time they get unloaded.
I didn't know how critical that was of an issue.
By
That's,
the time they get towed up and down and sat in the street, I mean, they're usually, you can't say there's never gonna be a drop, but I mean, there's not gonna be like gallons running out of them. I mean, there's not gonna be, I don't know, I mean, it's wrecked cars. I mean, definitely no worse than what has happened there, but like I said, I haven't, done any soil samples there, so.
you've got other lots, that's not an issue in your other locations?
No, I'm out by Randy's Glass, and then I've got 3 acres, and, anything we bring in the side, and, we got barrels and drain it, and, we got guys that do waste oil, and they always want it, so, or if it's contaminated, it goes to the, whenever they have a hazardous waste day, but, yeah, I don't think there'd be anything there that would be, much of a leaker, but you can't say never just because,
Thank you.
Commissioner Greenberg?
Yeah, another question. Are you going to paint striping and be able to organize where the cars are? Or how are they going to be organized?
Pretty much just the order they come in, and it's not a very big yard, and I've already wondered about that because my truck is a 20-foot bed with a 4-door, and my truck is like 35 feet long, and I've been wondering how I'm going to get all the snow out of it, keep it out of it, and once you back in, you can go to the left and do a couple rows, and then everything else is going to be straight in, and then yeah, I've kind of wondered about that without a forklift or something, and hopefully it just doesn't stack up that much. Hopefully stuff's not there for more than a week or so, and I mean that's my goal. I mean I have, like I said, my other property. If something is where it can go away, it could go either to the scrapyard or get parted out or gone. I'd rather not have a whole bunch of stuff stacked up over there. Well, nobody wants it, but you do know how people are. I mean, and then there's stuff where I don't know if I would be dealing with it, but I know, when I tow stuff to the troopers, as long as it's in, I think I would end up doing some of that stuff too. As long as the court case is open, it would sit there. So if it was a felony DWI, it'd be there for a while, and they don't pay a lot. I think they pay like $1 a day storage or some silly thing, but unless you can get the insurance to pay. But the city's actual rates on what they pay is fairly low, but and same with KPD. The only ones that really pay well is full coverage insurance. So those are obviously the ones I would try to pursue, but you have to deal with them all.
Good, thank you again.
Anyone else?
So if you have something that's going to be sitting there for a while, is there the possibility of moving it to one of your other lots?
If it's not in a open court case, I would have to talk to KPD and see exactly how that works. But I know as long as something is actively in court, like a wreck where somebody dies in, or it needs to stay under lock and key until the court is over,
So it's not
No, and a lot of the drunk cars that I do, you know, I'll do a tow at midnight, and God, it seems like sometimes I'm like, how are they already blown zeros? At 5:30 in the morning, they're calling. They want to get their car on Sunday morning, and I'm like, call me like noon, because I don't get home until 3, 4, 5 in the morning sometimes. So a lot of the DWIs, if it's not a felony DWI, they get it the next day or a day after, you know. Some I may keep until Monday, but I mean, if it happens a Saturday night, usually they're there Sunday morning or showing up in a taxi with a credit card, paying whatever. If it's totaled and they have full coverage on it, then it goes to either IAA, Insurance Auto Auction in Wasilla, or Copart in Anchorage. And they come and get them. That's where the last two, they send a tow truck down and they write a check and they go. And then they go to an online auction. So anything that's totaled.
Anyone else? All right. That's all we need from you.
All righty.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Seeing no one else to testify, we will go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission for discussion. Vice Chair Halsted.
Just for expose or whatever you want to call it, I do have prior interactions with Mr. Bettis. I don't feel like that's going to affect my ability to vote on this, but just for public record that I do have prior knowledge of him.
Nothing financial?
Nothing financial,
Okay.
nothing to gain, and again, I don't feel like it's going to sway my vote one way or another.
Yeah, I don't see a conflict there. Okay. Any other discussion? Do we want to talk about any of these extra conditions at all? Or does everybody feel good? Vice Chair Halsted.
Yeah, it was kind of what we had discussed already. Is I understand I think it might be a little bit overzealous of putting that restriction on the electric vehicle in that lot. I get why they're doing it, because there has been an issue, but I think, and with the small number of electrical vehicles that we have on the peninsula, I don't see it being an issue now, but in the very near future, if we start seeing a lot more electrical vehicles and a lot more accidents or areas where he would potentially need to tow into that yard, either he would say no or be in violation of, you can't fit physically in that small of a lot that car. So either we could reduce that radius, or just say, I don't know if we have the ability to say no or what, but.
Let me ask staff that. So if we find out that becomes an issue at some point, all of a sudden we've got a boatload of electric cars around here and they end up there, he could come back and ask to modify the conditions. And then I think we could get a little more clarification, maybe from the fire marshal or something like that. Where did this come from? From the fire marshal? Yeah, okay. But I think we could, I can't see that, we don't have a lot of them. Maybe we got more than I realized, but I don't think that, instead of modifying it now, because we might not even know what the modification would need to look like, might be better to just leave it, and then if it becomes an issue, come back and modify it, I think. Is that a doable scenario?
Thank you, Chair Twait. That is a good question. So actually, this condition originally was electrical vehicles shall be stored at least 50 feet from property lines and 50 feet from other vehicles. So the fire marshal recognized that that's really not doable for this lot, so he minimalized it to just from the property lines. And Chair Twait is correct to say that if in the future the condition needs to be amended, at a later time it can be reconsidered. But at this point, there's no reason that I can see why this would be an issue right now.
That's only electric vehicles?
Correct, only electrical vehicles. This is why I made the recommendation to adopt this, because I don't foresee this being an issue at this time or in the near future.
I was under the impression it was all vehicles 50 feet in, so I was like, but yeah, electrical, that's fine.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we had the ability to modify it down the road, or if this was something that we had to lock in now, and it's definitely not an issue in the immediate future. So if it's something you can change as time goes on and it becomes an issue, then I don't see an issue with it.
All right, then, so for clarification, do we need someone to make a motion to add that 8th condition then? Yeah, yeah.
Correct.
So why don't we get that out of the way? It's right there. It's all teed up. All you gotta do is read it. On page 2 of the. Commissioner Woodard.
I move to make the motion to move to add an 8th condition to read as follows: electric vehicles, EVs, shall be stored at least 50 feet from the property line.
All right, do we have a second?
A second.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and call the roll on the amendment.
Chair Twait,
Yes.
Vice Chair Halsted,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodard,
Yes.
Commissioner Greenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Costin,
Yes.
Commissioner Glendenning.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. We have the main motion as amended, still up for discussion. Now, the 7th condition that you had mentioned, is that, it's been a long time ago now, I forgot what that, okay, so it's already in the revised resolution, correct?
Correct. Chair
Okay,
Twite.
so we don't need to make a motion for that, it's there, so. Any other discussion? Vice Chair Halsted?
Yeah, I think that this is it's a good idea. I think that the city, I mean, obviously, we've had it there before, so I don't see that this is an impact in any kind of negative way for what we've got. It's something that we definitely need locally, and, you know, I'm happy to see it going in, so I'll be voting in favor of this.
All right, any other discussion? I would just add, kind of piggyback on that, I agree. I mean, it's a use that's been used in there, so it certainly fits. And I don't believe there was any problems with it when it was there before. It didn't cease to exist because there was a problem, so I agree. I think it's something we need, unfortunately, but we gotta have them, so I think it's a good spot for it. It's easy for our local law enforcement to keep an eye on, so we don't have to monitor it 24/7 outside of that, so I'm also in favor of it, so. Commissioner Greenberg?
I'm also in favor of it. Like everybody said, it seems like an appropriate use for an appropriate lot, and it's been used like that in the past. Just to make sure it stays organized as is in one of the conditions. Thank you.
Very good. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Woodard,
Yes.
Commissioner Greenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Costin,
Yes.
Commissioner Glendenning,
Yes.
Chair Twait,
Yes.
Vice Chair Halsted.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, so there is a 15-day appeal period that if somebody wants to come down and file it with the clerk, they can, but if not, after 15 days, you'll have that hurdle covered and jump on to the next ones.
There's been some hurdles.
I bet so. Appreciate you.
Yep, thank you.
Item G, unfinished business, H, new business, and I, pending items. We have none. That would take us to item J, reports, J1, city council, and I guess it's vice mayor?
That's correct.
It is, so.
Thank you, Chair Twait.
Go ahead.
Yes, I am the new vice mayor. I took over for Mr. Glendenning after he retired and come here for a week. I guess he can't stand it to not participate. I know a lot of you, some of you I don't know, so I hope to get to know everybody, and I'll probably be hanging out here with you for at least the next year. I was on the airport commission for the last year, so I'll get to sit and listen to your conversations here and your questions. Hopefully I can be a good liaison to the council if you need anything. I don't really have anything to report on our last meeting back in November. It's been a while since we've actually met. We have our next meeting next week. And We did have a special meeting. After that meeting, we're still working with the council on hiring our new city manager, and we'll have that finalized here pretty soon. And welcome to take any questions.
Anyone have a question? So regarding that hiring, then that is going to look like it leaves a vacancy. Is that a position that also the council gets involved in to fill that? Or is that just done internally?
It will be done internally by the city manager once that takes place.
Okay, good. Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to item J2 since our borough commissioner is not here. We'll go on to J3 to administration. City planner.
In your packet, you received a code enforcement monthly report. You'll be receiving this moving forward. We currently have 16 open cases, and we closed 10 last month. That was the revision because the number didn't add up, and that's why it's in the laydown. And I thought it would be helpful for you to know where these code violations are, because I think it's important to put it out there as well to get the neighborhood support, but also at the same time, we tend to get repetitive calls for the same complaint, so making everything transparent helps out staff as well, considering we're a staff of 2. And if you have any questions about this report, I'm happy to answer any questions before I move on to other items within the city administration.
Commissioner Glendening.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Twait. Yeah, thank you for your focus on this particular issue. It's been a sore spot as long as I've been involved in the community, and you have a good way of explaining it, and if I believe, as has been reported to me anyway, if someone has a code violation or something, you have a way of explaining that this has to be fixed, and most importantly, you seem to have the ability or provide the means for a path forward for anybody that has a problem. Sometimes they just can't afford to do it. Or they realize that they didn't think it was that bad, or whatever reason that people have. But anyway, just thank you for your focus, and we appreciate it.
All right, nothing else on that portion of it, I don't think, so if you have more.
So I just want to bring to the attention of the commissioners in the near future in your upcoming meetings. There we go again. Sorry, I'm not used to the mic. In the upcoming meetings, you're going to start getting busy because now I'm getting caught up to speed with the requirements of your role as a commissioners. I'm not sure when the last time your commission has done an annual report or review of the comprehensive plan. That's something that appears to be overlooked, and in order for the city to move forward in a direction that it has envisioned with the 2030 Kenai vision, we need to update it frequently to ensure that once uses come in, they're consistent with the vision that we want for the city. And so, I hope that you continue to look at it over the next couple weeks. In the new year, we'll have an in-depth work session to go over our comprehensive plan and look at some potential updates. In addition to that, with the upcoming budget, there are goals that we have for the department, and I would like to get your insight of some goals that you want to see for the departments to focus on in this next year so that I can incorporate in the budget and make sure that staff focuses on those things. These are just things I'm putting out there so that you're aware of and be prepared for. In terms of that, our annual report for CUPs, we sent out notices back in November 1st, and we sent out approximately 110 letters. We received 40 of them, and the deadline for those are December 31st. We are actually doing our best to work with applicants to ensure that they're actually filling it out correctly. It may not have been in the past, but we're making sure that people are complying with their conditions. So staff is going through every CUP and finding those specific conditions, and we're going to start monitoring them. And we're going to start giving you a report of those that are not complying and for consideration potentially revoking if they're not going to be in compliance. That's all I have for you, and Actually, I have one thing that I'm excited for to share, that I am working on just little details I think makes a big difference. So even notices letters that goes out to the applicant and nearby adjacent property owners within 300 feet. I've added on a map so that sometimes people just read it and they don't think it potentially impacts them, so they can see how close they are, so they can at least say, okay, that's actually not too far from me. I want to go to this meeting. And we've gotten better response because of that too. So if you want to look at what the neighbors and property owners receive, I have a sample of tonight's hearing for you to view. And any input you would want to see on here, I can incorporate. So thank you for your time.
Wonderful. Any questions? Vice Chair Halsted.
I just think that this is an amazing, it's nice to see positive forward momentum in our area. With the last couple of years, we've been in such a state of flux that it seems like a lot of stuff was getting dropped. And it's very impressive to see, you're taking that and running with it. And very much look forward to seeing what the future holds for our department. And yeah, bring on the extra work. I'm not afraid of it.
Thank you.
That's what you say now.
Well, as long as Jeff's got to do all the hard lifting.
In regards to the vision that you'd like to see from us, do you want that in email? Do you care how you get that information?
That is a really good question, Chair Toit. As long as it's written, that allows me to be clear that I'm capturing what you're asking of me, and also if I need clarification, I can ask for it and not trying to assume this is your vision. So anything in writing, wherever format it may be, if you want to drop it off, email, that would be great.
Okay, great. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. We've talked about the informational items. Our next meeting will be December 28th, and we do have stuff for that meeting, so we definitely are having it. Commissioners' comments and questions. Commissioner Glendenning.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Twait. Yeah, it's deja vu all over again. I've been a planning commissioner before this and served on the Borough Planning Commission and Harbor Commission and all of this, and it's just a pleasure to join you folks. And I know there's a lot of important issues that are out there, and the comprehensive plan is something that can be a pain in the butt, but it's something that's needful to look at, and how do you eat an elephant? Just one bite at a time, and we'll just go through it and see what see what can be done. And I know. I don't know. Society is in somewhat of a volatile stage now, and people have ideas how the neighborhoods or the business of the city should be run, and I'm sure we'll have lots of interesting input from the community, and that's what we're here for. So anyway, thank you for taking this task on, and it's long overdue, and I don't know if I can work as hard as Joe, but I'll get in there and do my best. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome aboard again. Our new commissioner, Commissioner Costin.
Yeah, I'm on a bit of a steep learning curve here, so bear with me for a little bit, but I'm still trying to get the rules of order together. So I will put forth the best effort I can with this commission. So, and please use me for a resource too, because I'm come from a regulatory world. So some of the stuff, the regulatory language, I read quite easily, and the NFPA standards are quite fun to read, as Jim might mention. So, but again, thanks for having me here.
Thank you. And I'll just tell you that I think when I got on here initially, I spent 6 months with my hands just like this, listening and not saying a thing. And when I finally decided, okay, I'm going to make a motion on this thing, I botched it completely. And the chair says, well, you need to make that as a positive motion. And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So back in my hole I went for a little while. So it is a curve, but like I said, you will glean a lot of information, and I know our planner is here to help a bunch with that too. So,
and I actually looked on the ADEC webpage for contaminated sites, and directly across the road, Airport Way, there's a known contaminated site there with diesel range organics from diesel spills, hydrochloric acid, glycols, and some other things. That's when Halliburton had that yard over there. And that whole material is migrated over into Weaver's yard as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's contamination in the whole area from historic spills.
Very good. Commissioner Woodard?
Well, I've been here a year and I'm still where you are, so don't feel bad. So I guess I was going to complain about the snow removal only, but I guess I'll let it go. I did it earlier. So just Merry Christmas to everybody.
And if you don't know, these are compliments of Commissioner Woodard, so make sure and give her thanks for that. Vice Chair Halsted?
Well, aside from staring at these cookies all night, I'm going to attack them as soon as I get back in my truck. It's good to see some new faces, and welcome, Mr. Basin. It's good to have a little bit wiser city councilman. No. Just kidding. And again, I'm just looking forward to seeing what the future holds. It's I'm getting a positive feel on our commission, and it's something I haven't felt in a while. So it's good to see us back at full force and powering through what we need to do. So I know there's a lot of hard work ahead of us, but it looks good.
Very good. Commissioner Greenberg?
I'd like to thank Commissioner Woodard for the cookies. Nice. Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody. And I'm looking forward to the reviewing the comprehensive plan. That'll be I don't think we have ever done that. Have we?
We probably have, but not
Not like
really
structured
in
way.
depth, I don't think, and it's long overdue, I would agree.
And I'm really impressed with this 10 closed cases on the violations. Nice work.
And I have nothing to say other than you have till New Year's Eve before you have to make that New Year's resolution about losing weight, so eat them up. And with that, business complete, the meeting is adjourned.